When I refused to move my mother-in-law into our home, my husband took my name off all our joint accounts. He said, "You don't value family. So now you're not part of mine." I left that night, quietly. What he didn't know was that I had video evidence of their plan to declare me unfit and take the house. I waited until their court filing. Then I submitted my own. When the judge saw the video, my husband tried to explain, but I met Dean when I was 27. We both worked in healthcare. Different departments, same hospital. He had this easy charm. Everyone liked him. I thought he was kind, patient, funny. We dated for 2 years before getting married. He brought up wanting a big family early on, but I told him I wasn't sure I ever wanted kids. He said that was okay, that he loved me more than the idea of fatherhood. We bought our house in Chapel Hill after the wedding. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. 3 bedrooms, a big yard, enough room to breathe. I worked long hours, and Dean traveled a lot for work, but we always tried to make time for each other. At least in the beginning. His mother, Irene, hated me from day one. She never shouted or threw tantrums. She was worse than that. She did the quiet, smiling kind of sabotage. She'd make comments like, "Oh, you cook? That's surprising," or, "I guess this is the style now," while looking around our house. At family dinners, she'd brag about Dean's ex-girlfriends in front of me. That one girl, Laura, she was going to be a pediatrician. You remember her. And Dean never stood up for me. He just chuckled or changed the subject. I tried for years to be polite, to include her, but she never let up. When she fell, slipped on a wet floor in her condo, Dean panicked. She was fine, just a broken wrist and some bruises. But suddenly he started talking about her moving in. Said she was getting older, needed help, and what else do families do? I told him no. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew what it would turn into. Irene didn't need a place to heal. She wanted control. And I wasn't about to hand over my home. Dean turned cold after that. We'd never been perfect, but this was different. He stopped talking to me about anything real. Spent more nights at his work events. I started noticing things. Little things. Our bank balance didn't look right. I checked one day, and I couldn't log into our joint account. When I called the bank, they told me I was no longer listed on the account. That was the moment something in me snapped. I went home early that day, waited for him to come back, asked him straight out what he did. He didn't deny it. He looked me dead in the face and said, "You don't value family. So now you're not part of mine." Just like that. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I went upstairs, grabbed a bag, packed some clothes, and left. I stayed with my sister in Durham. She'd always had her doubts about Dean, but I'd never really let her say them out loud. Now I wished I had listened sooner. What Dean didn't know was that I had already suspected something. About 2 months before everything blew up, I noticed Irene had been at the house while I was at work. Candles moved, kitchen stuff rearranged. Dean claimed she was just dropping things off, but I didn't believe it. So I bought a small camera. Nothing fancy, just a discreet webcam hidden behind a bookend in the home office. It had motion detection and uploaded everything to a private cloud. 2 weeks before I left, Dean brought Irene over. They sat at my desk, whispering like teenagers. But the mic picked it up clear as day. She said, "We can say she's unstable, that she's neglecting things, maybe drinking. If she's declared unfit, the house goes to you. You'll keep it in the family." Dean didn't flinch. He agreed. He laughed. I watched the footage 10 times. Then I saved it in 3 different places, 2 clouds, 1 USB. I didn't confront him. Not yet. After I left, I stayed quiet. I made no demands. I didn't respond to his texts. Weeks passed. Then months. And then I got served. Dean filed for divorce. The motion said I was mentally unstable, financially irresponsible, had abandoned the household, and that I posed a risk to marital assets. He wanted the house. Full ownership. He didn't expect me to fight back. I think he really believed he'd broken me. What he didn't know was that I had everything. Video, audio, Context. I hired a lawyer. Took my time building a response. I waited until the court date was scheduled. And then I submitted my response. With the video. The day of the hearing, Dean showed up looking smug. Irene sat beside him, dressed like a damn widow. The judge watched the clip. All of it. Didn't say a word until it ended. Dean started speaking fast. Your Honor, that was taken out of context, and she invaded my privacy. The judge shut him down. His lawyer looked stunned. Quiet. And I could tell that in that moment, Dean realized he'd lost something far bigger than a court case. But that was only the beginning. After that court hearing, things got tense fast. Dean's lawyer withdrew 2 days later. I heard from a mutual friend that the guy said Dean withheld critical information and that the video made him ethically uncomfortable. That was the first real win I had felt in months. But it didn't stop Dean. He hired another lawyer. This one was slick, young, aggressive, the kind that smiled too much but never meant it. They started hitting me with paperwork, motions, discovery requests, everything. They were trying to drag it out, make it expensive, exhaust me. Dean wanted me to settle. He offered to let me have the car and some of my personal belongings if I gave up my claim on the house. I didn't respond. Then it got worse. One day, I went to my storage unit and found it had been broken into. Not ransacked, but searched. Things were clearly moved. Boxes labeled documents had been opened. A few files were missing, old tax returns, bank statements, that kind of thing. I called the police, but nothing ever came of it. I had a feeling it was Irene. She had this need to win. Control meant everything to her. I think she convinced Dean that if they could find something, anything, they could still flip the case. Smear me. Make me panic. I changed the locks on everything. Updated passwords. Even moved in with a friend who had a home security system. I stopped using my main email and got a burner phone just for court communication. I was constantly watching my back. Then Dean tried to drag my job into it. His lawyer subpoenaed HR records from the hospital where I worked, trying to prove I was unstable at work. Said I had a pattern of concerning behavior. I had to tell my supervisor everything. She was kind. She stood by me. The records showed what they always had. I worked hard, stayed late, took on more than I had to. They had nothing. But it didn't stop them from trying. Every time I thought it would slow down, Dean and Irene found another angle. They claimed I had stolen from him, that I'd taken cash from our safe before I left. The safe that I didn't even have the code to. They tried to use texts, out of context, cropped, to show that I had threatened to ruin him. It was laughable, but stressful. I had to go line by line, email by email, proving my sanity to people who didn't know me. And then I found out something else. A woman I barely knew from Dean's office messaged me on Facebook. Said she needed to talk. She didn't want to be involved, but she couldn't sit on what she knew anymore. Dean had been planning everything for over a year, even before Irene's fall. He told coworkers he was tired of being married to dead weight, that I was holding him back financially. One of them overheard him saying, "She's too careful, too smart. I need to get her out of the way without losing the house." He didn't mean kill me. He meant legally erase me. She sent me screenshots of old messages. Him venting, bragging. He even joked about finding a way to fake documents if he had to. She won't see it coming. She still thinks we're just in a rough patch. I gave those to my lawyer too. Irene wasn't just pushing him. She was part of it. But Dean wasn't just going along, he wanted it. He wanted me gone, broke, erased, while he stayed in the house I helped pay for, built a new life, and played the victim. And I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let them win. Right after I handed those screenshots to my lawyer, everything shifted. She filed a motion to include them as new evidence of premeditated fraud. We thought that would finally shut it down. But we didn't expect what came next. Dean flipped the story. His new lawyer filed a motion saying I had set the whole thing up. That I installed the camera illegally to provoke him, edited the video, and had been emotionally manipulating him for years. They even submitted an expert affidavit from some private tech consultant claiming metadata anomalies in the video footage. It was a complete fabrication, but it stalled everything. The court paused proceedings to review the claim. I had to hire my own forensic tech expert to review and testify that the video was untouched. More money,
More time.
more mental drain. And during that delay, Irene made her move. She filed her own civil claim against me personally. She claimed I had intentionally inflicted emotional distress and that my refusal to care for her post-injury had caused her prolonged trauma and deterioration. It was so absurd I laughed when I first read it. But the court didn't dismiss it right away. That meant I was now fighting two legal battles, one divorce, one civil claim. And Irene's lawyer was sharp. She dug up every disagreement we'd had over the years, painted me as cold, neglectful, unfeeling. They even subpoenaed my old therapy records. I had to fight to keep those sealed. And then out of nowhere, Dean listed our house for sale. Yes, the very house that was still under dispute. He listed it behind my back, forged a consent to sell form using an old digital signature of mine from a tax return. I found out only because a friend saw the listing online and texted me in shock. I went straight to my lawyer. We had the sale blocked in less than 48 hours. But the damage was done. He had violated a court order, and we used that to hit him with a contempt charge. For a moment, it looked like we were finally gaining ground again. Then came the biggest twist of all. Irene had been keeping a secret from Dean. She wasn't just helping him out of motherly loyalty. She had put her name on several of our shared financial documents behind my back. Dean had transferred partial ownership of the house to her after I left. It wasn't legal, but it was messy enough to cause trouble.
Why?
Because Irene was dying. I found out through her court documents she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The emotional distress lawsuit? It was part of her last push. She wanted to secure the house and legacy before she died. Her plan was to leave everything to Dean and his niece, a girl I'd met twice in 15 years. Dean didn't know she had named the niece as the beneficiary. I don't think he knew how little of this was actually about him. So now I wasn't just up against Dean. I was up against a dying woman willing to do anything to keep me out of a home I helped build, and a husband who would burn everything down just to prove he could win. But I had one more card to play, and I hadn't used it yet. I waited until Irene's deposition. She came in looking frail but smug, draped in a cream shawl, playing the role of a wounded matriarch. Her lawyer was sharp, and for a while it felt like we were just going in circles. Then my lawyer slid a file across the table. Printed emails, bank statements, property transfer records, and a final page. A notarized form that showed Irene and Dean had signed a document trying to backdate her co-ownership of the house by nearly 2 years. A forged date. One of the notaries listed had passed away the year before they supposedly signed. Irene's face didn't flinch, but her lawyer went pale. It was fraud. Plain and clear. That opened the door to criminal charges. Suddenly, they weren't just facing a civil loss. They were looking at actual consequences. The judge called a special hearing. Dean's attorney begged to settle. Mine said no. We wanted everything public. The court ruled on the civil case first. Irene's emotional distress claim was thrown out. The judge cited a pattern of manipulation and dishonesty. But she didn't live to hear it. She died 2 weeks before the ruling. Dean tried to delay everything, said he needed time to grieve. The judge gave him 3 days. Then came the divorce ruling. I was awarded the house. Full ownership. Dean was ordered to pay back half the mortgage I had covered solo since I left, plus legal fees. And I was given access to review all accounts he had removed me from. That's when I played my last card. Remember the thumb drive I mentioned? It had more than just the office footage. It had screenshots of text messages Dean had sent over the years, proof of small lies, manipulation, even infidelity. He had used our joint funds to pay for hotel rooms with other women. He had bragged to friends about keeping me in check financially, and I had a detailed timeline to go with it. My lawyer handed it all over to the DA's office. They opened a case for financial abuse and document forgery. No arrest yet, but it's active. Dean's new girlfriend bailed on him once she got wind of the investigation. I heard he's staying with a friend in Burlington. He had to sell his car to pay off his legal debts. As for me, I moved back into the house. Slowly. I had it deep cleaned, repainted. Everything Irene once touched removed or burned. I replaced the kitchen cabinets, the same ones she used to criticize. I planted a tree in the backyard, something that will grow long after they're forgotten. And here's the part one haven't told anyone else. The reason I stayed calm through all of it? I had already filed to legally reclaim my maiden name before any of it started. Quietly. Months ago. The day the judge finalized the divorce, I signed the paperwork with my new old name. Walked out that courthouse lighter than I'd felt in years. Dean didn't even recognize the signature on the ruling. He stared at it like it belonged to someone else. It did. He never saw me coming. And he never will again.